Hey, it's MK, and I am here with a Baby Got Scraps layout for you guys today. And I went ahead and worked out of order and decided, since I still have my Christmas stuff out and in little cups, I thought I would do this Christmas layout. Now, it doesn't look like a Christmas layout because it's a picture of my son's face, but it does have a story to go with it. So I used a tag that my daughter gave me for one of my presents for this year. And I thought it was adorable because it was a little sled and then had a cute little decoration on top. I'm also using the pine needles and cones set from Some Assemblage Required. So I'm just trying to get it all in my hand so I could share it with you guys really quickly. So I've got that set. It's a little acrylic and wood piece set. And then I also have one of the pine cone clusters from, again, Some Assemblage Required. That's not the full set. I just picked one. I have this film strip left over from my, actually, I think this is from the December box from Some Assemblage Required. Now, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but that was my goal, was to use up the supplies that I had accumulated from the shop. So I have these scraps here. I thought this was a perfect combination, but when I flip it over to see the gray side is much better. I just didn't think that it matched the layout until I added this sled. So I was really super happy with that. I have this Tim Holtz paper here. This one here was a watercolor paper from a set that was gifted to me, and I just have a few pieces left of that set. And then my stripe piece here. I pulled out my little cup of just wordy bits, tiny words from the Christmas Spectacular collection. And then I went into my stash and pulled out this alpha set, super old, from Paige Evans. It's one of my favorite. I think I have a couple of them just because I like this white set and I can color them to match any layout. I can just take my alcohol markers or any markers and color the tops of them so they match any layout that I want to put them on. All right, so I'm going to just do my try and true when I have a scrap, couple large scraps, is I make one full sheet of paper, putting them all together. And this one is only going to be an 8.5 by 11 layout because it's a small story, but it was part of our sledding story that I wanted to add into the album. And I just thought that it was adorable because that's how my youngest son always is. Like, he's always this way. And so I am gluing my papers together so I have my 8.5 by 11 base, and there it is. Ta-da! Hardly any other scraps left. I did pull out one of my white cardstock scraps so I can mat his photo. Now, I'm not even worried that it's not going to be all the way around because that little bit that is cut off in the corner is actually going to be covered up by a couple embellishments. So I'm not too worried about not having a perfect photo mat for my photo. So the story behind this one is we were actually putting together our gingerbread. I think they were cookies this year, or this particular year, 2021. I think they were gingerbread cookies. Actually, I think they were the Ninja cookies, but I'm not really sure. My kids still talk about the Ninja cookies, but that might have been last year's. 2022's last year's is what I mean. I'm still in 2023, you guys. Can't you tell? So anyways, we were doing the cookies, and I noticed this big, huge rash or scratch or, oh my gosh, road burn on my son's face. And I was like, Isaac, what is that? And he's like, oh yeah, I got that while we were sledding. And I said, son, you're not supposed to use your face as the sled. And of course, it's a big, huge laugh at our house because he uses his face for everything. Seriously, you guys, not just eating. He does use his face for everything. He uses his face to catch balls. He uses his face to walk. I mean, this poor kid, he's just always coming home with some huge thing on his face, a scratch, a road rage burn. I mean, something on his face at all times. And it just cracks me up that it ain't no big deal, Mom. Seriously, son, he's broken so many glasses. It's ridiculous. He wants to go into contacts, but we're scared to death. of what he might do in contacts. Oh my gosh. At least the glasses are there to protect his eyes. It is just ridiculous. So, of course, I can't leave out this story because the kids, again, still talk about it when we are, for the last 2 years while we're making our cookies. Remember that one time, mom noticed Isaac's face and it was just like, nah, ain't no big deal. It's still, and then, of course, they talk about how he got the rash, and it's like, well, at least you didn't hit the tree, honestly. And so this is when we went sledding. We had a little bit of snow this year, not as much as 2022, but we go sledding at the golf course, and at the bottom of the hill are these sporadic trees. It's not like a grouping of trees. There's one here, one there, one, and it's a hit or miss, and it's not like you can steer the sled. Some of them you can, but not the ones we have. But yeah, it's just one of those things that we always worry about, the kids hitting the trees. And in 2022, a lot of the kids hit the trees. It was funny, but the trees were only probably 3 feet tall with how much snow we got that year. But anyways, and we didn't get to go and do our tradition of sledding on New Year's because we don't have any snow this year. None. We got a dusting a couple of times and thought it was going to stick. It stuck for about 2 days and then poof, it was gone. So it's just been an interesting winter, and we are afraid it's not over because this is very interesting for us. All right, so I've got my main pieces down. I made sure that I made room for all of my scraps. Now, for that hexagon piece, I knew I was not going to use that big giant hexagon. I just knew it. But I wanted to use this brown plaid because it does remind me of Isaac. He's my rugged, manly man son. He really is. Out of all three of my sons, he is the most outdoorsy, just get her done kind of guy. And so I definitely wanted to include it. Plus, I liked the brown being included in this layout. It brings out all the pine cones and whatnot. I thought I was going to do a small little cluster up at the top, and I decided, no, I'm not going to do, that's just too much. I don't really want to take away from the cluster down at the bottom. I want that to be my main cluster and where my title goes and all that good stuff. So I went into my stash and I pulled out this alcohol marker. I don't even know what flavor of the month that is from Stampin' Up. And I am coloring in my wood veneer. Now, I have to say, I don't do this very often with my alcohol markers. And so I was kind of shocked at how many times I had to go over my wood to get a full coverage. Like like the nib of the pen or of the marker kept getting caught on the wood grain. And so it was like, oh, this is kind of annoying. Normally I do my paint pens, but my paint pens do total full coverage. Like they are I think it's opaque that you don't even see that they're wood grain anymore. So it's total full coverage, and I didn't want that. I wanted to still see the wood grain. I wanted to use the alcohol marker and get that effect on the alcohol marker. And I only colored the needles. I wanted to keep my pine cones the natural, so that way they matched the other pine cones. Plus, I was worried that if I did color in the pine cones, then you wouldn't see the score marks that gave the pine cones their definition. So I just decided to go ahead and leave them. Now I'm using a lot of pop dots. Normally I take this part out because it's very boring to watch me take little pieces of paper off of pop dots or foam dots, but I must have missed it that time. So I am going to disassemble this sled a little later because as soon as I put it down, I didn't like that blue piece. The little blue banner behind my deer's legs. I did not like that. So I was trying to see if it came apart very easily and whatnot. So once I figure out what all I want to pull out of this little cup, I will definitely work on getting that changed. Now, I did find this little circle that said ho ho on the circle. I didn't like the fact that it didn't have it 3 times. Even ho cubed would have been cute too. but it just says ho ho. Well, when I flipped it over, it said oh. And I was like, that's perfect. I wished it said uh-oh, but that is absolutely perfect. And then I found a little black piece that said Season of Advent. And I almost used that word until I found the oh word, which is supposed to be ho ho, but now it's going to be Season of oh, like you're saying it, you automatically say uh-oh in your mind. At least I do. Even though you're supposed to, it reads oh. And then I just thought it was kind of cool. Now I did pull out this book label, book plate, to see if I could fit my title on there. And as soon as I pulled off the M out of the thickers, I was like, nope, it ain't going to work. There's no way. Because even though my title is very, very tiny, it does make a really big impact, because this is my son. This is exactly what he would say when, he's asked about something, or told he's not supposed to do something. And it's just the cutest way he says it. In all honesty, as soon as I put it down, I could picture him saying this, like, I'm not, I can't say it as cute as he does. But yeah, he just has a way of saying this phrase, like, really? I didn't know that, Mom. So I'm going to make a little hashtag, I think out of the number 1. I don't really remember. Or I had a leftover from another alpha that I disassembled. I'm not really sure. But I did use the title, I'm Not. Now, it doesn't make sense to anybody unless you were there for the conversation. But it's basically like, you're not supposed to use your face as a sled. And his answer is, I'm not? Like, for real? And so, of course, it just, to me, makes me giggle. Like I said, it probably doesn't make any sense to anybody else, but when you hear the story, it makes sense. So anyways, finishing off, I have a little bit of things to add to the top. I found this tiny, minute pine cone that was all by itself from the 49 and Market collection. So I decided to add that up there. I was like, oh, that is the perfect size, because I didn't want to go too big. And then I'm going to use my extra piece of scrap that I did not end up using, and use it to cover up that blue. So I'm really glad I didn't put both pieces down on this layout like I was originally going to, but I'm glad I didn't, because now I have this perfect size scrap to cover up that blue. It's the exact color I need. It just was meant to be, in all honesty, and I really like how it looks. I know that it blends in a little bit too much with the sled, but in all honesty, you really can't see the bottom of the sled, but it's the top of the sled that tells you I'm a sled. So I really like the new edition of the paper, and I don't know why it didn't stick. I thought I just glued it down. Weird. For some reason, it was not sticking. So I'm going to hold it for a quick hot minute. I did have a couple random stars in my little jar too. They don't matchy, but they were both in the black color. So I thought those were perfect additions as well. It brings in a little bit of the black from the film strip, as well as the little black label that I'm adding, because nothing else was black. Like I just used brown. I guess there's a little bit, it looks like it's black in the plaid, but I don't know if it's brown, tone on tone browns, or even a green in there. I'm not really sure. I didn't look at it too much, or too closely, I should say. I'm going to add my little label. Thought that was a good touch. And that is my layout for today, you guys. I really enjoyed putting this together, and what I started with and where it went. I had a blast. I really did. I'm glad to use up a couple of these some assemblage required elements. I am super stoked with the fact that my tag from one of my presents was perfect, like the perfect addition to this layout, because it was a sledding accident. It was just great, you guys. All right, that is my layout for today. Thank you so very much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget to check out the laundry list down below of all the folks playing along with Baby Got Scraps. I love how large this list gets every year. Like it started out with, X amount of people, and now we're at to double X amount of people. And now I feel like we're at triple X amount of people. It is great, you guys. I love this. And it's so inspiring to clean out that stash and get to using up your supplies. It's fabulous seeing that scrap bin empty for the year, and then you get to fill it up and look forward to doing this every year. It's fun. All right. Thanks, you guys, and I will check y'all later. Bye.